Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's professional kickboxer, the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Back in action. We're breaking down everything that happened at UFC 281. We're previewing Bellator 288. Got the rematch between Nemkov and Anderson. And then also we got the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis, in action this weekend at UFC Vegas 65. Of course, we'll take a moment to remember Anthony Rumble Johnson, a big loss to the MMA community, as well as throwing our little jabs at each other that me and Brandon like to do. But before all that, do me a favor, head over to FightersFirst.shop. Check out the dope collection. I'm rocking the regular new current Art of MMA. He's got the classic one. They're both available in the shop. Of course, we just launched the Jose Shorty Torres collection. If you're a fan of MMA, brave fighter Jose Shorty Torres. He was in the UFC. He's a 9-1. The dude is just wins wherever he goes. Unbelievable amateur record as well. Multiple championships around the world. So check out Chicago native Jose Shorty Torres. Of course, down here in Florida, he's all over the place here too. American Top Team and a bunch of other places. Bahrain, he's all over the place. But that said, let our legacy be a part of your story. FightersFirst.shop. Brandon, how you feeling on this victory week?
Feeling good, man. Giants won, Eagles lost.
Only time I ever root for the Commanders. I was like, come on, you guys can do this. We need that loss so we can get closer and closer. And I've been running my race all year long. I haven't been paying attention really to the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Eagles. I'm just happy that we're not the Giants of the last 5 years.
Yep.
Like every week we win, it's just like, all right, here we go. I'm getting closer to where I can start talking trash, but you still feel like the ceiling could drop, like the floor could fall out at any time. You're like, that said, exciting weekend of fights, but unfortunately we do have to start this show off on somewhat of a somber note. The world lost a very big part of our community. Anthony Rumble Johnson, news came out shortly after UFC 281. Anthony Rumble Johnson lost his life, 38 years old, succumbed to illness. I don't know all the details of the illness. I know he's been struggling with it for a while, but I do want to send our heartfelt condolences out to his family, his loved ones. He meant a lot to us as fans, and he was always seemed to be, Brandon, he seemed to be one of those good guys in the sport. Any interaction anybody ever had, nobody ever can say a bad word about Anthony Rumble Johnson. I do want to take a moment. Maybe we can share a couple memories. What are some of your favorite memories of Rumble Johnson?
I mean, dude, him as a welterweight was always just crazy, especially to think about how he was now, how the guy made it to 170. But yeah, I mean, one of his fights at 170 is his fight with Tommy Spears, where he just put him out up against the cage. I'll always remember that one. And then as a light heavyweight, his fight with Gustafsson. He went over to Sweden. That place was loud, rooting for Alex, and then boom, he put him out in like under 3 minutes, and he just quieted that whole place. Saying like he'll always be known for his power. Saying legendary power, man. Saying fought at heavyweight, man. He messed up Andre Arlovsky's teeth as a heavyweight. You know, he did some damage at welterweight, did some damage at light heavyweight. Like, to me, man, he's going to be always known as one of the hardest hitters in MMA.
I mean, the only guy he lost to in the last decade was Daniel Cormier twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he did take some time off. He took like 4 years off. And what does that say about somebody's power and abilities when we now know he was probably sick when he fought last in Bellator last May in 21? Like, when he had kind of a sluggish performance and still came out in the second round and knocked out Azevedo. Like, we now know that he was probably sick at that point. We don't know what he was dealing with, but I do know the memories he left, whether it was, you know, him and John Jones pranking Dana White with a fake brawl before a press conference, whether it was funny stuff like that. The fact that even when he was calling out Daniel Cormier in the middle of a cage, he stopped to say, "Don't you boo that man. That man is a champion. He deserves our respect." That's the kind of character that he was. You know, I listened to, and we'll talk more about Adesanya plenty today, but I listened to him on Ariel talking about him and how he had the chance to share, you know, like a few weeks down at camp, like helping Johnson get ready for a fight, the John Jones and stuff like that. And you just hear these stories about how good this dude is. Even if he trained hard, he wasn't trying to hurt you. He was training hard because he trained like he fought. And then when he fought, he knocked people the fuck out. He does be real. He knocked people out. He was exciting. Everybody wanted to watch him. You know, people booed when he went to a decision with Phil Davis because it wasn't a knockout. because every fight's a knockout. He had trouble with weight, 170 pounds. He had trouble making weight. The scale was not his friend, to the point where he took some time off, came back to World Series. He got cut from UFC, came back from World Series of fighting. He fought from basically like light heavyweight to heavyweight, depending what they needed. And then he came back to the UFC, a hero, and ran through everybody not named Daniel Cormier. He will probably not get the respect he deserves as a Hall of Famer because, 23-6, you probably should get some recognition for that, as many highlights as he has. But he wasn't a champion in most places. He fought for the belt a couple times, never won it. I don't know if that hurts his legacy because the fans love him. I look at basketball like a Patrick Ewing, a Charles Barkley. That's kind of what he reminds me of. He was a star. Just because he didn't have the championship doesn't mean he wasn't a star. Like I said, I think I speak for Brandon. Our thoughts, our prayers. The community is definitely mourning a good one. We lost a good one in Anthony Rumble Johnson, 38, way too young. So prayers to his family. That said, as hard as it is, Brandon, we do have a show to do. Let's move on. We are talking UFC 281 today. We are talking on the brighter side of things. A lot of people went undefeated with their picks on UFC 281. Brandon was not one of them. Brandon's wife was one of them. I told her I'd shout her out. Carissa, 2-0. She said 2 and new champions. We had 2 and new champions. I said we'd have 2 and new champions. We have 2 and new champions. Thank you. I appreciate that. But it was a really crazy, exciting night of fights. From Alex, Pereira's big win and comeback in the 5th round to Weili dominating, doing what she did. Dustin Poirier, you called that one. Dustin Poirier had a great back and I said this the other day. Michael Chandler is the greatest signing UFC ever made because every fight he has, win, lose, or draw, is must see. Whether he kicks somebody's ass or he gets his ass kicked, it is must watch if you're a fan. We saw Frankie Edgar's last fight. We saw Dan Hooker return to glory. There was a lot of stuff to unpack there, Brandon. We're going to start right off in the main event, as we do. 5 rounds for the middleweight championship of the world. I got my thoughts, but I want to hear from the mechanic first. I see your face already. Tell us what happened in that fight.
It's basically what I really thought how the fight was going to be. Like Izzy usually was switching it up on him. He was hand fighting with him a lot, controlling his distance, keeping him away with the jab, had his low kicks going. And of course, he was moving around, but he was playing with fire because there was a couple of times where you see him kind of just leaning up against the cage, standing there too long, man. You're saying Alex Pereira is going to try to find you. And that's really what happened. Like I said, because he did that in the 2nd round, got himself caught. That was really a Pereira round. And then, of course, that's what happened again in the 5th round. Like I said, he talked about, Pereira getting tired, probably towards the 5th round. That's what he thought was, Pereira will probably get tired, but maybe it seemed like Izzy was the one who really got tired. That's why kind of in that 5th round, he kind of just stood there. But then also too, you heard him kind of come out afterwards, kind of say like, oh, those calf kicks, kind of did affect him. That's why he really wasn't able to move as well. And you saw, I think it was in the beginning of the 5th round where he threw a kick. I think Pereira checked it, and then boom, he fell back. And I think that kick maybe could have had some damage. Could have put some damage on him. So. It was a good fight. You know what I'm saying, man? Pereira has that power. We all knew that. He has the left hook. I've seen it plenty of times in Glory. I've seen him knock people out firsthand in person. I've even heard the sound of it. What I'm saying? We all knew he was a dangerous guy. Izzy knew he was a dangerous guy. And man, he just got caught.
It's funny that history repeats itself, but on multiple levels. I'm gonna break this down multiple ways. Yeah, we know the history between these guys. Izzy basically got him with a standing 8 count last time, and then Pereira still came out with the knockout. I'll say one thing before I say anything else. I was never a big Izzy fan until after this fight. It's kind of similar to Usman. This is why I say history repeats itself. This is very similar to Leon Edwards and Usman, right? Mm-hmm. Because 3-1, late in the 5th round, what did Edwards do? Big knockout, right? And now we're setting up for a bigger fight down the road. And Usman has all this relief that now he can just be free and be a challenger. And you see the same thing in Izzy. I watched Izzy on Ariel's show, and his mindset is so great right now that I have way more admiration for Israel Adesanya now than I ever did before. Because like he said, he's been through way worse things in life than losing a fight. And to lose a guy 3 times, you think it would be eating him up? It's not. He's just at peace. He did blame the lateral nerve in his leg for going out. He said he wasn't hurt when he got tumbled over. He just got checked and he lost his balance because the nerve was gone. And as he said, his breakdancing days, he's like, I got to get up because I know this guy's coming following up with a flying knee or a hook. So I got to get up and I got to dodge. And he was dead on. That's what happened. I do think he kind of shorted, and he said himself he hasn't watched the whole thing back yet, but I do think he kind of shorted Pereira a little bit. He said that when he was on the cage getting rocked, that he doesn't blame the ref for stopping the fight because it looks like he was hurt and the ref was protecting him. He said he did more damage to Gastelum and the ref didn't stop him. Same ref, Mark Goddard. But in this case, he understood. He's like, if I was the ref, I probably would have stopped the fight too because he had his head down. He had it level. He couldn't see his head, but he knew where his hands and his legs were. And he was kind of weathering the storm because his leg was out. His leg was gone. He wanted Pereira to punch himself out, and then he was going to try to take him down again. That's easier said than done. Because honestly, I think if you're watching the fight, especially from an outside observer, I'm sure Izzy had a strategy in his mind, and he did pop right up after the fight was stopped saying, I'm okay. But if you're watching this from you're not Alex Pereira and you're not Izzy, and you see a guy with that much power raining down shots, maybe the 2 or 3 that hit him didn't put him out, but the next one might have. And there was no stopping the way Alex Pereira, that corner, Glover and all those guys had a rocky moment. It wasn't much different than, like I said, history repeating itself. It was exactly like the Leon Edwards situation. That corner had Alex Pereira knowing he had to go out and get a finish. They told him, like, you're losing this fight. If you want to win, you got to get a finish. And he came out with, if he gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. He was going for it. And he caught him. He caught him clean. He caught him a few times. And I think he was going to keep catching him. I don't think he was going to tire out like Izzy thinks he would have. Because he was so determined to just go for it. And could Izzy have popped up and knocked him out or took him down and smothered him for the rest of the round and rode it out and got a win? Yeah, it's very possible. But I do respect Izzy for being very honest about what he saw about the fight. I respect him for giving Pereira all the credit because he said, guess what? Pereira hurt the leg that made me not be able to move left and right. So you got to give him credit. He's the one that hurt it. It wasn't coming into the fight damaged. It got damaged a little bit in the Cannonier fight, but he's the one that kicked me. He's the one that did it. I was trying to do it to him too. You know, he gave him all the credit. And when you see a champion go out like that and then not blame the ref, not take excuses, not do all that, man, you got to give him respect, right?
Yeah.
And we know he's already said it. They've already said it. The next fight is them again. Like, so number 4 is coming. Who's next for both of them? Number 4. They're going at it again. Izzy was winning 3-1 on every scorecard going into that last round. Brandon offline texted me. He was like, but Izzy was winning the fight. And I was like, but you got to finish. It doesn't matter if you get knocked out in the first 5 seconds or the last 5 seconds, as we saw with Leon Edwards. You got to finish. Whether you finish your opponent or you go to the cards, you got to make it there. Every second you're in a fight, as Brandon will tell you, every second you're in jeopardy of getting knocked out, no matter how great you are. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So we know Alex Pereira and Izzy are going to run it back. The question is where and when. Izzy's taking the time off for the holidays. He's going to enjoy Christmas and New Year's for the first time in a long time. And then he's back in the cage. Ariel threw out fight week and International Fight Week. He said, no, not that long. Not that long. So I'm thinking sometime in the spring, these guys are going at it. Brandon, there's been talk about Nigeria and Africa. That was news to Izzy. But at the same time, he also said maybe not so fast because there's a lot of political stuff going on in that part of the world. He doesn't really trust those people to kind of make it work without some kind of like payouts. When these two, I'm not going to ask you who's next. We know who's next. But when these two match up again, we keep saying Izzy's winning these fights until the end, and then he gets caught twice in a row. what's to stop it from happening the third time if Pereira just has no quit in him?
Yeah, I mean that's all. That's always
Or
the
a fourth
dangerous
time.
game. Like I said, it's always about the matador and the bull. Saying it's all about how long can you evade. So I mean, the same is gonna happen. Like I'm sure when the betting lines come out, Izzy will probably still be the favorite because again, in all these fights, like even going back to the first kickboxing fight, to me, Izzy won that one hands down. The judges went to Pereira, but if you look at it, and then in the second kickboxing fight, Izzy was winning that until he made a mistake and got caught. Same thing here, Izzy was winning the fight until he got caught. So I mean, you're always gonna look at who is like who do you think is the better fighter, the better martial artist, and like saying like all this is just about like, hey Izzy, can you just not get caught with the left hand? Is like you think about how it was with
and he threw it a few times too. He threw it hard a few times and missed Izzy by like this much.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying you always know that danger is gonna be there. It's just hey, can you not get tired? Can you not get caught?
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, first of all, Izzy fought one of the best fights he's fought in a long time. He was exciting. He was doing it. And I actually thought after the first round where he caught him right at the end of that first round, I thought Izzy was going to win that fight because you brought it up. In the kickboxing, there was a standing 8 count. You don't have a standing 8 count in MMA. If you get rocked, the referee can stop it at any time he thinks you're in jeopardy. That's what happened to Izzy at the last. If this was kickboxing, Izzy would have got a standing 8 count and might have been able to recover and going on to beat Pereira. I thought that was going to actually hurt Pereira more than Izzy because when Izzy rocked him, I was like, all right, cool. If he drops, especially after getting rocked like that in the first, Goddard's probably going to stop it. And Pereira bounced back with a big second round. Then Izzy kind of discovered that he could wrestle, which everybody's like, what? I thought Pereira would have the advantage wrestling just because of his training with Teixeira, but Izzy pulled out a new trick. I was wrong. And Izzy said himself, I'm stronger than I look. I had him down. He wasn't getting up. I had his wrist. He wasn't getting up. Izzy trains with killers. Let's be real. Alex Volkanovski, all those dudes, he trains with killers. Like that kickboxing gym is not just a kickboxing gym. They can do everything, and they do it well. Dan Hooker, Brad Riddell, all those guys. Izzy will be back. But I feel like Pereira might be his boogeyman. And, sometimes people just have that opponent. We talked about Rumble Johnson. He fought Cormier twice. We talk about Cormier fighting John Jones and Stipe. There's just certain people you just don't match up well. He did everything he could to beat Pereira, and he should have won, but he got caught. And if he gets caught 2 fights in a row, then that's a trend. So I see the same thing happening. The only question is, does Pereira fight before he fights Izzy? And the chances are probably not. It probably will be Izzy and Pereira in the spring running it back. That was a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead to something that's not going to take very long to talk about. The co-main event, your girl Carla. She ran into Weili, and let's be real. I know, like I said last week, this is no disrespect to Carla, but I think there are levels to this. And I think Weili came out, and while Carla had a couple moments where she was kind of like going back and forth with her, you saw by the time it got to the second round, there was just no question about the level that Weili is fighting on right now. She's kicking in all gears. When she got that rear naked choke, something she had kept going for even in the first round when people surprised, and she got Carla's back in the first round. People were like, oh my God. And then Carla was able to kind of flip it, get on top. What exactly did Weili do that Carla just couldn't adapt to?
Nah, I mean, well, Carla just made one little mistake because, like I said, Weili, had the crucifix on the back, in which Carla had her right arm stuck, and then when she kind of moved her left arm away, that's when Weili had got her neck because she was protected.
I was actually surprised the fight didn't get stopped there. Because a lot of times when they get the crucifix and somebody can't defend themselves, the ref will stop it even if they're not hurting them.
Saying she wasn't in danger.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying she was. I was just surprised.
Yeah. So like I said, so when that happened, like I said, she made one little mistake where she moved her left arm, and then boom, her neck was exposed, and she got caught. Like I said, man, this fight to me, Carla was a fight. I know a lot of people, had those doubters where where they just thought that, Wiley was just going to run right through in the first round and get a TKO finish. But that's not how it was. Like I told you, Carla has been working on her stand up. Like say, most of all her fights, she was going up against some killers standing up. Yeah, so that's why again, I didn't think Wiley was going to run right through her like that. Which of course I was right. It went to the second round, and of course she didn't get knocked out. She got caught with a submission. But like say, if she would have maybe kept her left arm, try to get her right arm free, and that way, the fight could have been different.
Yeah, I thought the same thing during, and we'll talk about it in a second, the Dustin Poirier fight. I thought the same thing when he had the crucifix and just kind of kept hitting. Look, Weili had a mission. Her mission was to get that rear naked. Like she every time she went to the ground, she was scrambling for the back. And she got it. She got it in the first round. She got it in the second round. I said Carla wasn't going to be a pushover last week, and I meant that. But I do think there's levels to this, and I don't think there's another female in the strawweight division outside of one kick that has been able to mess with Weili. Because Weili beat Rose in that rematch. I don't care what the judges said. Like Weili, you said it. Don't laugh.
Man, I agreed.
No, you agreed with me right afterward because Weili won the first 3 rounds.
Nah, sorry, buddy. You must got me.
We'll go back and play the tape.
Yeah, you go back and play it.
You agreed. Anyway, regardless of how that fight played out, outside of Rose Namajunas, which may be Weili's kryptonite, like we just talked about it with Alex Pereira, maybe that's Weili's kryptonite. There hasn't been another female that's been in a close fight with Weili. The 5-round war with Joanna was mostly Weili. Like they both came out beat up, but that was mostly Weili, and the rematch wasn't even close. She smoked her in the rematch. Carla is a great fighter, and I don't mean that like superficially and trying to dismiss her. She may be the second best fighter in that division, but I just think there's a big gap between 1 and 2, and I think we're eventually going to have to see Weili move up to a different division, maybe even some kind of super fight, because she does look strong enough to possibly move up, but I just don't see anybody in that division touching her.
Damn, man,
who gets the next shot? If it's not Rose, who gets the next shot?
You got some prisoner of the moment going on with you, my guy. You are a prisoner of the moment for sure.
How so?
Because, man, like yeah, I get it, man. Weili looked good this fight. She looked good her last fight.
Every fight except the one she got caught with a head kick.
Yeah, but things though, man. But you're trying to act like she's levels above everybody. Like, hey, man, don't get me wrong, she is well rounded. But I mean, you just talked about your girl Lemos having the power. You can't just dismiss her. And then of course,
Lemos can't grapple with her.
How do you know that? Have you seen Lemos?
Never shown it.
We're talking about she can grapple with you. All right, and then also too, I mean, you talked about Andrade as well. Again, Andrade, I don't know where she's at. She's at 125 or 115. But remember, when she had that fight with Weili, she came out reckless, and that's why that's why she got caught. If Andrade maybe has a better game plan, she could probably maybe put Weili's lights out, because again, we all know she has power as well. But I mean, I'm saying, man, I'm not taking anything from Weili, but I mean, to say she's levels above everybody, I'm not there yet.
Well, we know Rose is next. Like, Rose is going to drop that documentary, get all the steam, popularity. And we know it's a big story. Rose beat her twice. Rose is next. When Rose wants to take that fight is obviously the question.
I don't know if Rose is next. Like I said, man, I think Lemos is right there too, man.
I think if Rose drags her feet and doesn't take a fight anytime soon, I think in the spring we'll probably see Lemos. I don't even know anybody else that would be kind of close to that. But it's got to be Rose or Lemos at this point. As far as Carla, it sucks, but the way she lost was kind of definitive, and she doesn't get the love that she deserves as far as the press and as far as the UFC goes. So maybe she fights an Andrade, maybe she fights a Marina, maybe she fights a Jan. She's going to have to fight down, though. What do you think's next for Carla?
She could maybe fight Mackenzie Dern. That could be a fight for her. They're both coming off losses.
Yeah, but you wouldn't put her against a higher ranked opponent like Jan, or
she already beat Jan Chanel. Why would they run it back?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Rodriguez.
They already fought as well.
So what's left? Like, you gotta wait.
Like I said, Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, but I don't think Mackenzie's in her league. Like, why would UFC give a struggling Mackenzie Dern a fight that high?
What rank is Mackenzie Dern?
7.
All right.
Carla's 1.
So I'm saying, like, why? I'm saying, like, that's who it would probably be with 7.
I guess we'll see. Leave a comment, folks. Let us know what's next for Carla Esparza. Whaley and Rose probably on tap. If not, it's going to be Lemos. Rest of the card was stacked, Brandon. Your fight, Dustin Poirier, Chandler, another instant classic, back and forth war. Poirier got the win in the 3rd round. A little controversy with Chandler possibly doing a fish hook and some other stuff. He says it wasn't intentional. He respects the game too much to cheat. But, in the moment, anything's possible. I'm not going to throw daggers at him. He fought a hell of a fight. Dustin fought a hell of a fight. Dustin came out on top. I was unfortunately right about Frankie Edgar. I just thought it was a horrible matchup. I think most people thought it was a horrible matchup. We all were rooting for Frankie, but just on paper, it just didn't look good. And Chris Gutierrez put him out, big knee, kind of similar to the Sandhagen thing. Just not the way I wanted to see Frankie go out. Any final thoughts on Frankie's career from you?
Hey, man, he's a legend. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, no matter win or lose, right? Dan Hooker had a big comeback for real. Like, he's been struggling lately. I had picked Puelas on my DraftKings. Like, I thought, Way Hooker's been struggling. But Puelas just wanted to pull guard. He tried to heel hook a lot. And Dan Hooker, once he got out of that, just started leveling him in the body, and then the head would fall, right? And Dan Hooker just kind of went to work. Carnero, like, big win over Brad Riddell. Brad Riddell now is going to take some time off. He's been fighting for a long time. He's going to take some time to reevaluate things, spend some time with his family, well-deserved. And then I want to ask your opinion on this one. Ryan Spawn put Dominic Reyes into the ground with like a jab. Like, Dominic Reyes got one of the longest suspensions, him and Frankie, 90 days minimum. We know Ryan Spawn, who, by the way, for the first time ever, trained for a fight. I don't know if I believe that, but that's what he said. So if he's training now after the success he's had, I mean, damn. But where the hell does Dominic Reyes go from here? Is that it?
No. I mean, like I said, dude, we all know Ryan Spann can crack. Dominic Reyes, basically he ran into that punch. Man, what happened was that he was just eager to get in there. He wanted to win so badly. He just wanted to go in there. The man just forgot everything that he worked on. Hanging out with a team to share up there in Danbury, Connecticut. He was just eager. He was trying to get that dub, and boom, he got caught. That's what happens, man. Saying you go up against somebody like that, and
First John Jones. Everybody comes after John Jones, just falls apart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, man, like it happens, man. Like say, he had a long layoff. He was excited, to get back in there, and he just really wanted that win. But he just forgot everything that he learned. He just saw red, and boom, he got his lights put out.
And then Erin Blanchfield, wow, like she ran right through Meatball Molly. Can Meatball Molly win outside of the UK?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about matchups. It's all about matchups, man. I mean, dude, when this fight got announced, anybody that knows anything just knew this was going to be an Erin Blanchfield W. Yeah,
Erin looks great. She's definitely jumping up those flyweight rankings fast. They want a top 10 opponent for her next. Petrovsky got the win over Turman, Frevola over Azatar, big knockout there. Double K was another win. She's starting to bounce back a little bit. She almost retired. Now she's got a couple wins in a row. She took out Gomez Juarez. Your boy Trezano in the double knockdown bounced up to get his knockout in the first round against Wu Choi. That's a highlight reel you're going to be seeing for a while. Anybody in the gym kind of joking about that?
I mean, it was just big congrats, and that was really it, man. We were just happy that he just went out there and did his thing.
But on the other side, unfortunately, Julio took the L against Montel Jackson. And then Carlos Ulberg, oh my God, this dude, he struggled in his first fight against somebody we'll be talking about for this coming week in Chukwu. Like, he struggled with him, who took him into deep waters, but nobody else been able to take him in deep waters. He knocked Nicolay out, big knockout. Real quick before we move on, what are some of your highlights from this card besides the main fight?
I mean, like you already said, man, Aaron Blanchfield doing her thing. Of course, my two teammates fighting was always a plus. And then to see Poirier Chandler, man, that was a good fight.
You think Ryan Spawn gets a top opponent next?
Sure. I mean, is he not in the top 10 already?
So he's in a weird spot, right? Like he's been bounced up a couple times, lost. He's at 10. He's exactly at 10. But he's also fought some people in and out of that top 10. So it's like, who could he really fight? I mean, I could see him popping up against the Krylov. I could see him popping up against the Paul Craig. But I do think he deserves it. And if he's training now, which he's never really took seriously before, I don't think he's never trained. I think that was like kind of like him being kind of exaggerating. But maybe he hasn't trained with a purpose, kind of like, dedicated towards certain things. If he's doing that and he the performance he had, man, he just looked spectacular. It wasn't a long performance, so we don't really know if it had gone on any further. But, man, he was slipping punches. He was accurate. He was fast. And he was in great shape. So I think Ryan Spawn can make some noise. You see, like, some of those guys just sitting out there, Jamal Hill, Krylov, just sitting there waiting for a fight. Maybe that's a guy. So he obviously can bounce back really quickly. He didn't fight long. That is UFC 281. A lot to break down. Leave a comment. Let us know. Does fight 4 go any differently than the first 3 fights? Let us know. All right, Brandon. Now's the time of the show that I'm actually starting to enjoy. I was dreading it for a while you were lead dog, but now I'm kind of bouncing back a little bit. We are going to make our previews and picks starting off, honestly, the bigger card of the weekend. It just happens to come Friday before Saturday. Bellator 288. We got the rematch we've been waiting for, Nemkov and Anderson. Also, I guess officially the finals of the Grand Prix that we had been waiting on. Because of the injury and the foul and everything that happened in the first fight, a fight that Corey Anderson was winning. We run it back from scratch like it never happened. Does anything happen differently in this fight, Brandon, or is this Corey Anderson's fight to lose? Who's winning this one?
I mean, I'm picking Corey Anderson still. Like I said, I picked him in the last fight, so I'm going to rock with him again this time. Like I said, I'm sure Nemkov, made some changes out here, but of course, so I'm still thinking that Corey Anderson is probably as well making some changes as well. But I'm just going to go with Corey Anderson to get the job done, and for this one, it will be new.
I agree with you. I know I'm a big Nemkov fan, but Nemkov showed that he couldn't stop Corey Anderson's wrestling in that first fight. Corey Anderson was dominating him. He was landing the bigger shots. And Nemkov was tough. He didn't go out. He fought back. And he was fighting back when the accidental clash of heads happened. But what Corey showed me was his ability to maul him. Like he mauled him onto the ground. And I think if Corey wants to do that again, he will do that. I don't think there's anything Nemkov can stop him from taking him down. So I'm going to take Corey Anderson in this one. I think it'll probably go the distance. But I do think Corey will rack up enough points to take the rounds and win this fight. A fight I'm not sure about, though, is in the co-main event. We got Patricky Pitbull, Patricky Pereira going against the undefeated Usman Nurmagomedov. Brandon, what happens in this fight?
I'm going with Usman Nurmagomedov. I'm going to be with this time Anu as well over here. I mean, no doubt, Patricky Pitbull is dangerous standing up. He could catch him, with the knee, with an uppercut, or just with the punch as Usman comes in. But I think Usman's going to use his wrestling, take him down, control him, take his back, rear naked choke finish maybe, or he could just go all 5 rounds. But I'm thinking Usman is going to get the job done and new over here.
I'm sticking with Patricky Pitbull on this one. And the reason why is that Usman hasn't proved anything to me. Yeah, he beat Chris Gonzalez, but who else has he beat? A bunch of people you've never heard of. 14 of his wins have been against people you've never probably heard of. And even Chris Gonzalez isn't a household name unless you're an MMA fan and a Bellator fan.
I'm just saying though, but I mean that same logic is the same way of what's the name in the UFC, man. What's his name? I can't remember, man. The man just beat Oliveira.
Islam.
Yeah,
Makhachev.
Yeah, Makhachev. Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
It's all the same. Like it's all the same family. It's all the same Dagestani. It's all the same group. but not all of them are Khabib, right? Like Islam is good, and Magomedov is good.
Is this not his cousin? Is this not actually the bloodline itself?
It is, and that doesn't mean everybody in that bloodline. There's always a runt, and it's not a knock on Usman. I just know that I've seen Patricky Pitbull go through like Peter Keeley, and I know they had the back and forth, and the doctor stoppage, and I know he just lost to Musayev, but the fighters I've seen, the Roger Huertas, the Derek Camposes, the Benson Hendersons, the Josh Thompsons, the Michael Chandlers. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that Patricky Pitbull is the best fighter in the world, but we do know he has put out power.
Yep.
And we also know he's been through tough challenges, including wrestlers. So I just think right now, I don't think Usman's there yet. I saw his performance against Chris Gonzalez. It was okay. It wasn't spectacular. He got his back. He got the rear naked choke. Okay. Patricky's been there. He's also a BJJ black belt. The Pitbull brothers know their jiu-jitsu. I don't know. I think this fight could go either way, but I'm going to take the veteran in this one. What is your fight to watch on this card?
I'm going to go with, still on the main card, I'm going to go with the Terrell Fortune versus Daniel James fight. I think Terrell Fortune is going to get the job done. Again, like I said, he's known for his wrestling. He's somebody that Bellator has had their eyes on. One of their prospects trying to get them, up to the next level. And I think this is another step forward for Terrell Fortune.
I'm always kind of scared about Terrell Fortune, though, since he lost that Tim Johnson fight. And I'm just like, you keep piping him up, and then all of a sudden the time you get behind him, then he lets you down. And so, I don't know. This should be an easy win for him, but, when the big guys come to knock, anything can happen. My fight to watch is one of Brandon's favorites, Lucas Brennan. I kind of stole his pick from him because I made my picks first this week. But he's going against Nick Talavera, making his Bellator debut. Lucas Brennan's looked great in all his Bellator fights. He's going through Lugo. He's going through Soto. Like anybody they put in front of him, he's fought his entire career on the big stage. And I just don't know. I mean, I don't think Nick Talavera has the tools to take out Lucas Brennan. I think he's one of the next big things in that featherweight division. And I think this is another fight that he's probably going to wrap up on the ground and get the submission. I don't see that going any other way. Also on this card, though, we have a lot of other undefeated and up-and-coming fighters. We got one of Brandon's longtime favorites, Daniel Weichel, going against undefeated Timur Kirziev. We also have Feraldo, undefeated, going against Chokili. We got Rodriguez, 13-1, going against Askahabov. We got Alieve, 8-0, going against veteran Sean Colin Fallon. Kilismoto going against undefeated Harold Pacheco. Another literally every fight has an undefeated fighter. Archie Kogan, undefeated, going against Hannum. We got Jalen Bates, who's undefeated, going against Janelle Lugo, who we just talked about. Then we also Jordan Newman, undefeated, going against Talker. Cawley, undefeated, going against another undefeated fighter in Arakan. We got Anderson, undefeated, going against Finico. Hokick versus undefeated Nader. And then making their debut, Vladimir Gouveia, going against Corey Mogenberg. This is the card that Scott was like, a lot of you guys are going to prove yourselves, or you're going to get that first loss. Because literally, I say out of the 16 fights, I think 15 of them have an undefeated, or 14 of them have an undefeated fighter in there. 13 of them. That's crazy. So big fight card for Bellator in Chicago on Friday night. And then Brandon, on Saturday, we got some bangers. It's not UFC 281, but, we got a couple big guys going off in the main event. UFC Vegas 65, UFC Fight Night 215, whatever you want to call it. Derrick Lewis versus Sergey Spivak. We got Nchukwu versus Kudalaba, and a number of other great fights on the card. Brandon, let's start in the main event. Tell me who you got and why.
I'm going with the Black Beast. This fight isn't in Texas. It seems like Texas is the only place where
keep him out of Texas,
where it is that he's losing. So I mean, again, we talk about power, man. Derrick Lewis has that power. Man, he catches you. It's usually lights out.
The one thing that scares me about that is that he's also proved lately if he gets caught, he's done. He just taps out. He's like, I don't want to fight no more. And we saw Spivak get a big shot against Sakai. We saw him against Greg Hardy, but we also saw him take one against Aspinall and drop. I'm going to take Derrick Lewis just because, like you said, he's outside Texas. He tends to liven up when he knows there's money on the line and he wants that new contract. So I'm going to take Derrick Lewis, but I do know Derrick could get caught in this one. Yeah. Spivak's only 27. He's a big dude, 6'3", 250. He's long. And Derrick Lewis, it really depends which guy shows up. The one that wants another payday or the one that's just like chilling. And so that we'll see. Co-main event and Kennedy and Chuck Wu, we just talked about. And then the Hulk and Cutelaba. Who you got in this one?
I'm going with man and Chuck Wu. You know, like I said, man, dude, he definitely has the height, definitely has the reach advantage. Comes from a good gym. I think he's going to fight smart. You know, usually with Cutelaba, he usually doesn't fight smart and he usually runs into something. And I think with somebody like in Chuck Wu, you make a mistake, your lights are going to get put out. So I'm going in Chuck Wu to get his hand raised.
Man, I just never know what fucking version of Nchukwu shows up. The guy who went toe-to-toe with Oberg, the guy who dropped Carl Robertson and beat him in the third round, or the guy that got taken out by Jung or beaten by Nikolai. Like, which one's showing up? I don't know. And the one thing I think that Cutelaba's biggest drawback is he has no wrestling or submission skills. That's why he's gotten tapped out 2 fights in a row. But I don't think Nchukwu has submission skills. So if you're going to go toe-to-toe with a guy with a brick head, I think I got to go with Cutelaba in this one. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with Cutelaba just because I think if you're going to go toe-to-toe with somebody, I think he'll go through a brick wall to beat you. We saw it with Devin Clark. We saw it with Dustin Jacoby. We saw it, he had the only guy that's really been able to drop him is Ankalaev. And Ankalaev drops everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go Cutelaba on this one. I'm not sure about it. I may be eating crow next week when I talk to Brandon about this one. Brandon, what's your fight to watch on that card?
I'm going with, the Ultimate Fighter winner, man. I'm going with Ricky Turquoise versus Kevin Natividad, and I'm going with Ricky Turquoise to get his hand raised. Like I said, man, I've been impressed with him. Ever since the Ultimate Fighter, and to me, it seems like every fight he's getting better and better. I'm just here to watch his progress.
Yeah, I got him on my DraftKings. I think he's probably gonna get a finish in the first or second round, some kind of submission or something. Yeah, I don't think that's even a question. I think you took the easy one on the card on that one, Brandon.
Okay,
try to get the wins back. I think I took an easy one too, but I'm not sure. Like Jack Della Maddalena, look, man, he's looked great his last several fights. Fantastic. Danny Roberts is always dangerous though. He's no slouch. Like his record may be like 18-6, but look, the dude can fight, and he's quick and fast and athletic, and he could give you problems. I just think Maddalena's on a mission right now, and I think he's probably going to get the win here. I think he's probably going to get it, probably a decision. Probably he might even be 30-27, 29-28, but I think he's going to take the decision in this one. Also on the card, you got some big boys going. Chase Sherman going against the undefeated Cortez Acosta. You got what might be one of the fights of the night, Andre Fiallo versus Salikov. You got, unfortunately, the Cody Brundage Vieira fight just got canceled, so that one's off the card. Charles Johnson versus Zumagulov. We also got Jennifer Maia, which is one of the fights I'm surprised you didn't pick, going against Moraz. Vince Morales going against Miles Johns. That fight's in jeopardy from what I understand, but as far as I know, it's still going through. You got the former stripper turned successful superstar, Vanessa Demopoulos versus Maria Oliveira. Brady Heistand versus Fernando Garcia. And starting off things, you got Natalia Silva versus Teresa Bleda. Any other fights kind of stand out that we should check out?
Man, you know me. I'm looking at all three ladies' fights.
Yeah, I think that Jennifer Maia fight's going to be a pretty good one. And then also, I'm interested because the Vanessa Demopoulos, like I thought she would be favored, but she's actually the underdog in the fight, and I was surprised because people keep sleeping on her. And I know she's not like the biggest, strongest female in the world, but she finds ways to wrap you up, get submissions, get knockout. Like she just finds ways to win. And if you find enough ways to win, you kind of got to give somebody a little bit more respect.
Yep.
So that might be a nice sleeper for anybody trying to get a pick. I am not a gambling expert. Do not take my word for it, even if I am the lead dog on this show.
Yeah. Let's see for how long.
Yeah, I really struggle when there's more than one card in a week. So we'll see how I bounce back next week. My luck, I'll probably go over. Well, I got a couple of the same picks for you, but if I go over, then you bounce back. I'm just gonna like show up on next week's show and just be like, I'm not saying nothing. Brandon will have to carry the whole show. That said, ladies and gentlemen, got a lot of great shows on the network. We just dropped a new episode of Kicking It, where they talk about Glory 82, Glory Rivals, all that great stuff. They have some great insight on the whole kickboxing side of the Pereira and Adesanya stuff. Check that out. Of course, we just dropped Crossing Borders, previewing Luke's Fight League this weekend, which Alex is going to be calling. So check all that great stuff on the network. I also announced on Crossing Borders, we're going to start airing Muay Thai fights on our network. They won't be live. They will be recorded, but they are from Versus Fighting Championship. So we're going to start doing actual fights on our network. So we're just getting bigger and bigger, and it's all thanks to you guys. Keep subscribing. Keep liking all the content. Brandon, any final words this weekend before we get out of here?
And now, guys, just like I said, just like, subscribe, spread the word, let the people know. And like I said, comment below, interact with us. Let us know, let us know your thoughts on the show and everything else.
Make sure you tell Carissa to leave her picks in the comments again so she can go undefeated again.
Okay, sure. I'll do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for professional kickboxer Brandon the Mechanic Cuttino, I'm Mike Ginn. This is Art of MMA. Enjoy the fights this weekend, and we'll see y'all soon. We're out.